The biggest thing you never notice. Right now, while you're reading this, your body is doing an unbelievable amount of work. Not later, not when you're exercising, not when you're sick. Right now, your heart is beating. Your lungs are adjusting oxygen levels. Your kidneys are filtering waste. Your immune system is scanning for threats. Your brain is monitoring thousands of signals coming from every part of your body, and you're probably not aware of any of it. That's what makes this so interesting. Most of the things that keep you alive happen outside of your awareness. You don't wake up and remember to keep your heart beating. You don't consciously tell your lungs when to breathe. You don't manually regulate your body temperature when the room gets warmer. The systems that matter most are running quietly in the background. And because they're quiet, you forget they exist. This is one of the strangest things about being human. You only notice your body when something goes wrong. When your back hurts. When you can't sleep. When you're sick. When you're exhausted. When your heart races. When your stomach feels off. When anxiety takes over. When something breaks, suddenly it has your full attention. But when everything works, you call it normal. You don't think about it. You move through your day assuming that being alive is the default state, as if your body simply exists, as if it wakes up every morning and continues operating without effort. But that's not what's happening. What's actually happening is closer to a city that never sleeps. Imagine a city with millions of moving parts. Electricity has to keep flowing. Water has to stay clean. Roads have to stay functional. Traffic has to stay coordinated. Hospitals have to stay staffed. Emergency services have to remain active. Waste has to be removed. Problems have to be detected and solved before they spread. Now imagine all of that happening every second. That's closer to what your body is doing. The difference is that your body is doing it automatically. You don't see the workers. You don't hear the alarms. You don't attend the meetings. You only experience the final result. The lights stay on. The city functions. So you assume everything is fine. The reality is that stability is being created continuously. This matters because most people unconsciously imagine health as a static condition. You either have it or you don't. You either feel good or you don't. You either function or you don't. But biology doesn't work that way. Health is not a permanent state. It's an active process. Your body is constantly making adjustments to keep you within a safe range. Your temperature drifts upward. It cools you down. Your blood pressure drops. It compensates. You lose water. It conserves resources. You encounter bacteria. Your immune system responds. Damage occurs. Repair begins. Every second is filled with tiny corrections. Most of them are so successful that you never notice they happened. Think about how strange that is. The greatest evidence of your body's intelligence is often its invisibility. You don't notice what is working. You notice what stops working. And this doesn't only apply to biology. It applies to almost every system in life. You don't think about electricity until the power goes out. You don't think about clean water until it's unavailable. You don't think about internet infrastructure until the connection fails. The systems that support your life become invisible precisely because they're reliable. Your body may be the best example of this. For years, you can move through life without thinking about the incredible amount of maintenance happening beneath the surface. You wake up, you work, you eat, you scroll, you make plans, you worry about the future. Meanwhile, your body is solving thousands of problems on your behalf. Not because it's trying to impress you, not because it wants recognition, simply because that's what living systems do. They maintain themselves, they adapt, they respond, they survive. And once you start seeing this, something changes. You stop viewing your body as a machine that occasionally breaks. You start seeing it as an active partner, a system working tirelessly to keep you alive despite constant challenges. That perspective creates a different kind of respect. Not the dramatic kind, not the motivational post kind, a quieter kind. The kind that comes from realizing that while you've been busy focusing on everything happening around you, an entire world of activity has been happening within you. A world so effective, so consistent, and so automatic that you've barely noticed it exists. And that's where this conversation really begins. Because once you understand how much work your body is doing behind the scenes, you start asking a different question. If all of this effort is happening every second, what would happen if it stopped? What would happen if your body stopped regulating itself? The easiest way to understand what your body is doing is to imagine what would happen if it stopped. Not forever, just for a little while. Because when something works continuously, it's difficult to appreciate its importance. The process becomes invisible. So instead of looking at what your body is doing, let's look at what would happen if it didn't. Imagine you wake up tomorrow and your body decides to stop making adjustments. Your heart still beats. Your lungs still move. Your organs still exist. But the constant corrections stop. At first, you probably wouldn't notice anything. Then small problems would begin accumulating. Your body temperature would start drifting. Normally, your body keeps temperature within a narrow range because your cells depend on it. Too hot, and important chemical reactions become unstable. Too cold, and those reactions slow down. Right now, if your room gets warmer, your body notices. If your room gets colder, your body notices. If you're generating too much heat, your body notices. And then it responds. But if that regulation disappeared, temperature would no longer stay where it needs to be. The same thing happens with blood sugar. Most people think about blood sugar only when discussing diabetes or nutrition. But every cell in your body needs energy. Your brain especially depends on a steady supply. Too little energy and systems begin struggling. Too much energy and damage can occur over time. Your body is constantly making adjustments to keep things within a usable range. Not perfect, usable. That's an important distinction. Many people imagine biology as precision. It's actually adaptation. Your body isn't trying to create perfect conditions. It's trying to create conditions that allow you to keep functioning. The same principle applies to oxygen. Every second, your cells consume oxygen and produce carbon dioxide. This exchange has to remain balanced. If carbon dioxide rises too much, problems begin. If oxygen falls too low, problems begin. So your breathing changes automatically, not because you're thinking about it, because your body is monitoring conditions and making corrections. The remarkable part is that most of these corrections happen before you become aware of them. That's the real job of a healthy system, to solve problems before they become noticeable. Think about a good manager at work. You rarely notice them when things are running smoothly. You notice them when everything falls apart. A healthy body works the same way. Its success often looks like nothing happening. But beneath that appearance of nothing, thousands of decisions are being made every second. Water levels, mineral levels, blood pressure, hormones, immune activity, energy production, temperature, waste removal. All of these variables are moving constantly, and all of them require adjustment. This is where many people misunderstand the idea of stability. They think stability means things stop changing. In reality, stability often means things are changing constantly in order to remain functional. Think about riding a bicycle. When you see someone balancing effortlessly, it looks stable. But if you've ever ridden a bike, you know what's actually happening. Tiny adjustments, tiny shifts, tiny corrections, over and over again. The rider is not frozen in perfect balance. The rider is continuously preventing imbalance. Your body works the same way. What feels like stillness is actually movement. What feels like stability is actually adaptation. And once you understand this, something interesting happens. You start viewing health differently. You stop thinking of health as something you either possess or lose. Instead, you start seeing it as a relationship between countless systems that are constantly responding to change. Because change is normal. Your environment changes. Your stress levels change. Your sleep changes. Your activity changes. Your nutrition changes. Your emotions change. Your body has to account for all of it. Every day, every hour, every minute. This is why the phrase, preventing internal collapse, isn't an exaggeration. It's a description. Left alone, systems drift. Resources become depleted. Waste accumulates. Conditions become unfavorable. The body's job is to continuously prevent those outcomes. Not once, not occasionally, every moment you're alive. And the most impressive part is that all of this is happening while you're busy thinking about completely different things. You're planning your future, checking your messages, working on a project, watching a video, having a conversation. Meanwhile, an invisible network of systems is quietly managing the conditions that make all of those experiences possible. The life you experience on the surface depends entirely on the maintenance happening underneath it. And one of the clearest examples of that maintenance can be found in an organ that has been working every second since before you were born. Your heart. Your heart never takes a day off. There are very few things in your life that have been completely consistent. Jobs change. Relationships change. Interests change. Goals change. Entire phases of your life come and go. But through every version of you, one thing has remained remarkably reliable: your heart. Before you learned to walk, your heart was working. Before you spoke your first word, your heart was working. Before your first memory formed, your heart was working. And while you've spent your life focused on school, work, relationships, ambitions, disappointments, and everything in between, your heart has continued doing the same job. Beat, 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 without breaks, without weekends, without retirement, without asking for recognition. It's easy to hear that and think it's just another interesting biological fact. But stop and think about what that actually means. Every heartbeat is a mechanical action that creates movement. The heart contracts, pressure is created, blood moves, oxygen is delivered, waste is removed, resources are transported. The process repeats, again and again, not because your body enjoys efficiency, because your cells depend on it. Every cell in your body needs supplies. Just like every building in a city depends on deliveries. Food must arrive, waste must leave, resources must be distributed. Without transportation, the entire system begins failing. Blood is your body's transportation network, and your heart is the pump that keeps everything moving. This is one of the reasons the heart is so fascinating. It's not simply an organ, it's infrastructure. Most people don't think about infrastructure until it stops working. You don't appreciate roads until they're blocked. You don't appreciate electricity until the power goes out. You don't appreciate plumbing until water stops flowing. The heart belongs in the same category. When it works, life feels normal. When it doesn't, everything changes. What's even more remarkable is how responsive the heart is. Many people imagine it beating at a fixed pace, but your heart is constantly adapting. Stand up quickly, your heart adjusts. Walk upstairs, your heart adjusts. Feel nervous before an important conversation, your heart adjusts. Exercise intensely, your heart adjusts. Fall asleep, your heart adjusts. The goal isn't maintaining one's speed. The goal is meeting demand, and demand changes constantly. This is another example of a larger principle that shows up throughout the body. Health isn't rigidity. Health is responsiveness. A healthy system can change when circumstances change. The heart understands this better than most people do. When your muscles need more oxygen, blood flow increases. When your body is resting, resources are conserved. When conditions change, the system changes with them. This adaptability is one of the reasons you're alive, and it offers an interesting perspective on how people often approach their own lives. Many people try to create perfect routines that never change, perfect schedules, perfect plans, perfect systems. But living systems don't work that way. The healthiest systems aren't the most rigid. They're the most adaptive. Your heart doesn't stubbornly insist on one pace. It responds to reality. There's a lesson in that. Not because biology is offering life advice, but because effective systems tend to follow similar principles. They monitor conditions. They gather information. They make adjustments. They remain functional. The heart is doing exactly that. Every second, every day, for your entire life. What's even stranger is how little awareness you have of its work. Right now, blood is moving through vessels that reach nearly every part of your body. Oxygen is arriving where it's needed. Carbon dioxide is being carried away. Nutrients are being delivered. Heat is being distributed. All of this is happening beneath conscious awareness. You don't have to supervise it. You don't have to remember it. You don't have to earn it. It's simply happening, which creates an interesting contrast. Many of the things that matter most in life happen quietly. The most important work is often invisible, not because it lacks importance, because it's continuous. The heart is one of the best examples of this reality. Its success is measured by its absence from your attention. The less you notice it, the more likely it is doing its job well. And yet the entire experience of your life depends on it. Every thought you've ever had, every memory you've ever made, every conversation you've ever enjoyed, every goal you've ever pursued, all of it required a functioning circulation system operating in the background. And the heart is only one part of that story. Because even if blood reaches every cell perfectly, those cells still need something else. They need oxygen, which brings us to another process that rarely receives the attention it deserves. Breathing, the silent work of every breath. Breathing is one of the few systems that sits on the border between conscious and automatic. You can control it for a moment. You can take a deep breath. You can hold your breath. You can breathe faster. You can breathe slower. But eventually, control returns to the system itself. Your body takes over. And that's because breathing is far more important than most people realize. Most people think breathing has one job: bring oxygen in. That's true, but it's only half the story. The other half is removing carbon dioxide. And understanding this changes the way you think about every breath you take. Every second, your cells are producing energy. Just like a car engine burns fuel and creates exhaust, your cells create waste products as they operate. One of the most important waste products is carbon dioxide. If carbon dioxide isn't removed, problems begin. Your blood chemistry starts changing. Your internal environment becomes less stable. Systems become harder to regulate. This means breathing isn't simply about getting something. It's also about getting rid of something. It's a delivery system and a waste removal system at the same time. And your body is constantly adjusting the process based on what it needs. When you're sitting quietly reading a book, your breathing requirements are different from when you're running up a hill. The demand changes, so the system changes. You don't have to calculate the adjustment. Your body does it automatically. This is another example of intelligence that exists beneath awareness. Not intelligence in the sense of thoughts, intelligence in the sense of adaptation. The ability to sense conditions and respond appropriately. That's what healthy systems do. They pay attention. They adjust. They stay functional. Breathing follows this pattern perfectly. Think about the last time you exercised hard. Maybe you went for a run. Maybe you played a sport. Maybe you carried something heavy. At some point, breathing became impossible to ignore. Your chest worked harder. Your breaths became deeper. The entire system increased its output. Why? Because demand increased. Your muscles needed more oxygen. Your cells produced more carbon dioxide. Your body responded accordingly. This response feels obvious during exercise. What's less obvious is that the same process is happening every moment of every day, even while you're sleeping. In fact, some of the most impressive work happens when you're completely unconscious. Every night, you surrender control. You close your eyes. Your awareness disappears for hours. Yet breathing continues. Your heart continues. Regulation continues. Repair continues. The systems stay active. And when you wake up, you often treat that as normal. But it's worth pausing on for a moment, because there is something deeply humbling about realizing how much of your life depends on processes you don't control. Modern culture often encourages the belief that everything important comes from conscious effort. Set goals, work harder, stay disciplined, make better decisions. And while those things matter, they're only possible because an enormous amount of work is already being handled for you. Breathing is one of the clearest reminders of this. Life is not being sustained by willpower alone. Life is being sustained by systems. Reliable systems. Adaptive systems. Systems that continue operating whether you're motivated or not. Whether you're productive or not. Whether you're having a great day or a terrible one. Your lungs don't stop because you're discouraged. Your respiratory system doesn't quit because you're overwhelmed. The work continues. That's one reason people often underestimate the value of stable systems in every area of life. They focus on moments of effort. But long-term results usually come from what operates consistently in the background. The same principle shows up in health. The same principle shows up in learning. The same principle shows up in creative work. The visible outcome is usually supported by invisible maintenance. Breathing makes this impossible to ignore. Every breath represents continuity. A system continuing its work, a process maintaining conditions, a quiet form of support that most people never think about until it becomes difficult. That's why a blocked nose feels so frustrating. That's why breathlessness feels so alarming. The moment breathing becomes harder, you suddenly realize how much you depend on it. The invisible becomes visible, and that's often how awareness works. We notice things when they're missing. We notice systems when they fail. We notice support when it's removed. Until then, we tend to overlook it. Breathing is one of the greatest examples of this reality. Thousands of breaths each day, most of them forgotten, most of them unnoticed. Yet every one of them contributes to the conditions that allow the rest of your life to happen. Every conversation, every idea, every memory, every goal, every experience, all of it depends on a steady supply of oxygen reaching trillions of cells throughout your body. And once that oxygen arrives, another world of activity begins. A world so small that you can't see it, yet so important that nothing about your life would exist without it. The world of your cells. The secret life of your cells. When most people think about their body, they think in terms of parts. The heart, the lungs, the brain, the muscles, the stomach. Those parts are real, of course, but they're not the deepest level of the story. Underneath every organ is something even more fundamental. Cells. Trillions of them. And when you begin looking at life through the lens of cells, something interesting happens. The human body starts feeling less like a machine and more like a living ecosystem. Because every organ you've ever heard of is ultimately made of cells performing specific jobs. Your heart works because heart cells work. Your brain works because brain cells work. Your lungs work because lung cells work. The large systems depend entirely on countless smaller systems operating successfully. This is another pattern you'll notice throughout life. The visible result depends on invisible components. Most people focus on the outcome. Few people think about the process creating it. Cells are the process, and they're busy all the time. Right now, millions of cells are producing energy. Millions are transporting materials. Millions are communicating with neighboring cells. Millions are building proteins. Millions are replacing worn-out parts. Millions are cleaning up waste, all at the same time. What's remarkable is that no central manager is issuing detailed instructions every second. There isn't a tiny version of you sitting inside your body directing traffic. The coordination emerges from the system itself. Each cell responds to information. Each cell follows biological rules. Each cell contributes to something larger than itself. The result is what you experience as being alive. This is difficult to appreciate because your conscious experience feels singular. You feel like one person, one mind, one perspective, one identity. But beneath that experience exists a vast network of specialized activity. Imagine walking through a large city. You see the city as one thing. Yet underneath that single image are thousands of independent operations. Restaurants preparing food, drivers moving deliveries, engineers maintaining infrastructure, workers repairing roads, electricians maintaining power, medical professionals treating patients. The city functions because countless smaller activities are coordinated. Your body works the same way. The difference is that your body performs this coordination with extraordinary efficiency, and most of it happens without conscious awareness. One of the most important jobs your cells perform is energy production. Everything you've done today required energy. Reading, walking, thinking, speaking, remembering, learning, even sitting still. All of it costs something. Energy is constantly being spent, which means energy must constantly be produced. This is where oxygen and nutrients become useful. Your cells take the raw materials delivered through your circulation system and convert them into usable energy. Not once, continuously, every moment you're alive. It's easy to overlook this because the process is automatic. You don't feel energy being generated. You simply experience the result. Just like you don't watch electricity being produced when you turn on a light. You experience the light. The process remains hidden. Cells operate in a similar way. Most of their success is invisible. And that's probably one of the biggest themes running through this entire discussion. The most important processes are often the least noticeable. You notice pain. You notice illness. You notice dysfunction. You rarely notice successful operation. A cell that does its job perfectly doesn't demand attention. It simply contributes to the larger system. This creates a fascinating contrast with modern life. Many people spend enormous amounts of energy trying to be seen, trying to gain recognition, trying to make their efforts visible. Yet some of the most important work happening in the universe is completely unnoticed. Your cells are a perfect example. No applause, no audience, no validation, just consistent contribution, moment after moment, day after day, year after year. Not because they're motivated, because that's how living systems survive. They perform the work required to maintain themselves. And the moment that maintenance stops, problems begin, which leads to another reality that many people never consider. Life is not only about producing and operating. Life is also about repairing, because no system can function indefinitely without accumulating damage. Your cells know this, which is why one of their most important jobs isn't building, it's rebuilding. Your body is constantly repairing itself. One of the most common misunderstandings about the human body is the belief that it's designed to avoid damage. It isn't. Damage is normal. In fact, damage is unavoidable. Every day, your body is exposed to stress. Physical stress, environmental stress, chemical stress, biological stress. Simply being alive creates wear and tear. Your cells produce energy, but that process isn't perfectly clean. Movement creates strain. Sunlight affects skin cells. Normal metabolism creates byproducts. Life itself generates friction. The remarkable thing isn't that damage happens. The remarkable thing is how much repair happens. Most people think of healing as something that occurs after a major event. A broken bone, a deep cut, an illness, something dramatic. But healing is happening long before those moments. Your body is constantly repairing tiny problems before they become large ones. And most of the time, you never notice. Think about a house. If you ignore every small crack, every leak, every loose wire, every worn-out component, eventually the problems become obvious. But a well-maintained house doesn't wait for catastrophe. Maintenance happens continuously. The same principle applies to your body. Small repairs prevent larger failures. This is one reason health often feels invisible. The repair work happens before you experience the consequences of neglect. A small cut appears on your skin. Days later, it closes. You didn't consciously coordinate the process. Your body handled it. You finish a difficult workout. Muscle fibers experience stress. Recovery begins. Resources are delivered. Repairs are made. Adaptation occurs. The system rebuilds itself. Not because something went wrong, because rebuilding is part of how the system functions. This idea is worth paying attention to. Many people imagine the body as a finished product, as though it reaches a completed state and simply remains there. But your body is closer to an ongoing construction project. Parts are being replaced. Materials are being recycled. Damaged components are being removed. New components are being built. The work never fully stops. You're not looking at a finished structure. You're looking at a process, an understanding that changes how you think about yourself. Because many people become discouraged when they notice signs of wear. They feel tired. They feel stressed. They experience setbacks. They assume something has gone wrong. Sometimes that's true, but often they're simply observing the reality that living systems require maintenance. Nothing meaningful operates indefinitely without upkeep. Not machines, not businesses, not relationships, not bodies. Maintenance is not evidence of failure. Maintenance is evidence that something is being used. This is one of the reasons recovery matters so much. Sleep matters because repair requires resources. Nutrition matters because repair requires materials. Rest matters because repair requires energy. Your body cannot continuously spin without also rebuilding. Yet many people attempt exactly that. They treat themselves like machines designed for permanent output. More work, more effort, more productivity, more stimulation, more activity. Eventually, the system begins sending signals. Fatigue, brain fog, reduced performance, irritability, difficulty concentrating. These signals are often frustrating because they interfere with what you want to do. But from the body's perspective, they're useful information. The system is communicating. Resources are limited. Recovery is needed. Repairs must happen. This doesn't mean every uncomfortable feeling is meaningful, but it does mean your body is not randomly creating obstacles. Most biological signals serve a purpose. The challenge is that modern life often rewards ignoring those signals. Push through. Keep going. Handle it later. And sometimes that's necessary. But if the pattern continues indefinitely, maintenance gets postponed. Repairs accumulate. Small problems become larger problems. The same thing would happen in any system. A neglected machine doesn't suddenly break one day. It slowly accumulates unresolved issues. Your body follows similar rules. What's fascinating is how much of this repair work is occurring right now. As you read these words, cells are replacing older cells. Proteins are being recycled. Damaged materials are being removed. New materials are being constructed. Microscopic problems are being solved before they become visible. The scale of this effort is difficult to imagine. Because your experience feels stable. You feel like the same person you were yesterday. But underneath that feeling of continuity, countless components have been repaired, replaced, or renewed. The stability you experience is being actively created. That's another pattern worth remembering. Stability is rarely the absence of work. More often, stability is the result of ongoing maintenance. The body understands this principle completely, which is why it spends so much energy repairing what life inevitably wears down. But repair alone isn't enough. A system also needs protection. It needs a way to identify threats before those threats become serious problems. And that's where another invisible workforce enters the story. Your immune system. The immune system, your invisible security team. If repair is one half of survival, protection is the other. Because it doesn't matter how good a system is at rebuilding itself if it can't defend itself from threats. This is where the immune system enters the picture. And like so many things we've discussed, it's doing far more work than most people realize. When people think about the immune system, they usually think about getting sick. A cold, a flu, an infection, something noticeable, something disruptive. But that's a little like thinking a security team only exists when there's a break-in. The reality is that the most important security work happens before an incident ever occurs. The goal isn't responding to every threat. The goal is preventing most threats from becoming problems in the first place. Your immune system operates the same way. Right now, as you read this, your body is encountering things that don't belong there. Bacteria, viruses, damaged cells, potential threats. This isn't unusual. It's normal. The world is full of microorganisms. Your body knows this, which is why it never stops paying attention. Immune cells are constantly moving throughout your body, checking, scanning, identifying, responding, not because something is necessarily wrong, because vigilance is part of the job. This is one of the reasons health can be so deceptive. You often assume that because you aren't sick, nothing is happening. In reality, a great deal may be happening. The difference is that the system is succeeding. Problems are being addressed before they become visible. Again, this is a pattern that keeps appearing. The better a system works, the less likely you are to notice it. Think about cybersecurity. Most people never see the attacks their devices successfully block. They only notice the threats that get through. The immune system operates similarly. Its victories are often invisible. Its failures become obvious. That's why illness can feel so sudden. You feel fine, then you don't. But what appears sudden is often the result of a longer process. A battle that has been unfolding beneath awareness. A contest between protection and disruption, most of which you never witnessed. And that's worth appreciating, because it reveals something important about how living systems operate. They don't wait for certainty. They operate based on probability. The immune system doesn't know the future. It can't guarantee perfect outcomes. What it does instead is continuously reduce risk, monitor conditions, gather information, respond to signals, increase the likelihood of survival. This idea extends far beyond biology. Many people spend their lives searching for guarantees. Guarantees in business, guarantees in relationships, guarantees in health, guarantees in creative work. But complex systems rarely offer guarantees. They offer better odds. The immune system understands this completely. Its goal isn't perfection. Its goal is resilience. The ability to respond effectively when challenges appear. That's an important distinction. Perfection implies preventing every problem. Resilience implies recovering from problems. One is unrealistic. The other is practical. Your body has evolved around the second idea, not because challenges can be eliminated, because challenges are unavoidable. The goal is to remain functional despite them. And that's exactly what your immune system spends every day trying to accomplish. What's fascinating is that the immune system doesn't only respond to outside threats. It also helps manage internal problems. Cells become damaged. Cells wear out. Cells sometimes behave in ways they shouldn't. The immune system helps identify these issues and deal with them. In other words, protection isn't just about defending borders. It's about maintaining order within the system itself. A healthy city needs both external security and internal maintenance. Your body is no different. The more you study living systems, the more you realize that survival isn't a single action. It's the result of many systems cooperating, repairing, monitoring, adapting, protecting, correcting, each system contributing to the same outcome, keeping conditions stable enough for life to continue. And yet there's something curious about all of this. The more effectively these systems operate, the less aware you become of them. You walk through your day feeling normal. You assume normal is the starting point. You forget that normal is being actively maintained, which raises an interesting question. Why are human beings so good at overlooking the systems that support them? Why do we notice problems immediately, yet rarely notice the countless successes happening quietly in the background? The answer has a lot to do with how attention works. An understanding that may change the way you think about your body altogether. Why you rarely notice any of this. Most people don't struggle with understanding their body. They struggle with noticing it in the first place. Because your brain is not designed to track everything happening inside you. It's designed to filter. Every second, your nervous system receives an overwhelming amount of information. Signals from your skin, signals from your muscles, signals from your organs, signals from your blood vessels, signals from your environment. If you had to consciously process all of it, you wouldn't be able to function. So your brain does something extremely important. It simplifies reality. It filters out anything that doesn't require immediate attention. This is why you can sit in a chair and forget that you're sitting in a chair, until it becomes uncomfortable. Then suddenly, you notice. Your body has been there the entire time, but your awareness wasn't directed at it. This is also why you rarely think about breathing, or your heartbeat, or digestion, or temperature regulation. Not because they're unimportant, but because they're stable. And the brain has learned a simple rule over time. Stable systems don't need attention. Only unstable ones do. This creates a blind spot in human perception. The better something works, the less you notice it. The worse something works, the more attention it demands. So your awareness becomes biased. It naturally focuses on problems, not because you're negative, but because survival depends on it. If something is wrong, you need to know immediately. If something is working, you don't need to think about it at all. This is the same reason pain exists. Pain is not the problem itself. Pain is information about a problem, a signal that something needs attention. But there is no equivalent signal for everything going right. There is no sensation for perfectly functioning organs, no alert for stable blood chemistry, no notification for successful immune responses, no feeling that says everything is working as intended. Silence is the default language of health, which makes health easy to overlook. You only become aware of the system when it breaks its silence. When you get sick, when you feel tired, when something hurts, when performance drops, when discomfort appears. At that moment, attention snaps back to the body. Not because the body suddenly started working, but because something changed enough to require awareness. This is why people often develop a distorted relationship with their body. They only experience it through interruptions, through symptoms, through problems. So they begin to associate the body with discomfort instead of stability. But in reality, discomfort is just a small fraction of what your body is doing. Most of the time, your body is not communicating problems. It is preventing them, silently, continuously, without interruption. And this brings us to something even more important. If your body is constantly maintaining stability, repairing damage, and defending itself, why does it feel like you are the one in control of everything? Why does consciousness feel so separate from all this activity? The answer reveals something deeper about how attention works. And it changes the way you understand what it means to be aware at all. Why your body feels invisible to you. To understand why you rarely notice what your body is doing, you have to look at how consciousness is actually structured. Most people assume awareness is like a spotlight that simply shines on reality. Whatever exists gets illuminated. Whatever is important gets noticed. But that's not how it works. Your awareness is not a spotlight that sees everything. It is a filter that selects almost nothing. And what gets selected is based on priority, not completeness. Your brain is constantly deciding what deserves your attention, not in a philosophical sense, in a mechanical, survival-based sense. At every moment, it is asking one question: what requires action right now? If the answer is nothing, awareness moves elsewhere. This is why your body feels invisible. Because most of what your body is doing does not require action. It requires stability. And stability, by definition, does not interrupt you. Think about how you experience your phone. You only notice it when it vibrates, or when it runs out of battery, or when something breaks. When everything works normally, you don't think about the hardware inside it. You don't think about the circuits, the processing units, the energy distribution. You just use it. Your body is the same system, except far more complex. It runs thousands of processes simultaneously, but only surfaces a small fraction of them into your awareness. Most of the time, there is nothing urgent enough to interrupt you. So your experience becomes clean, simple, seamless. And because of that seamlessness, you forget what is making it possible. There is also another layer to this. Your sense of self is not built to track systems. It is built to track decisions. What to do next, what to avoid, what to pursue, what to remember. This is why your thoughts feel like you, while your heartbeat does not. One is part of your decision space. The other is part of your maintenance space. But both are happening inside the same system. This separation is useful. It allows you to function without being overwhelmed by biological complexity. Imagine if you had to consciously manage every heartbeat, every breath, every immune response. You wouldn't have enough mental capacity left for anything else. So consciousness evolved to sit on top of biology, not inside it. It receives outputs, not raw processes. It experiences results, not mechanisms. This is why your body feels invisible, not because it isn't active, but because its activity is deliberately hidden from conscious processing. This design creates efficiency, but it also creates misunderstanding. Because when something is invisible, it starts to feel optional. You forget it is there. You forget it is working. You forget it is maintaining you. And that's where the final realization begins to form. If your body is responsible for maintaining your internal stability, and your mind is only aware of the outcomes of that maintenance, then what exactly are you experiencing when you say, "I am alive"? Are you the system itself? Or are you the awareness observing the system's results? This question doesn't need an immediate answer, but it changes how you interpret everything that came before it. Because now, all of these processes, heartbeat, breathing, repair, defense, regulation, are no longer separate topics. They are parts of a single underlying activity, an activity that never stops, even when you are not thinking about it. A new way to look at being alive. At this point, the question we've been circling is not really a technical one anymore. It's a perception shift. Because once you've seen how much of your body is operating without your awareness, something subtle changes in how you interpret yourself. You stop seeing life as something you are simply doing, and you start seeing it as something that is continuously being maintained. Right now, your body is not waiting for instructions to stay alive. It is actively performing that job. Heartbeat after heartbeat, breath after breath, repair after repair, adjustment after adjustment. And none of this pauses just because your attention is somewhere else. This is where most people unconsciously draw a line between me and my body. They experience thoughts as themselves, but biology is something they own, something they control, something they use. But if you step back, that distinction becomes less clean. Because the thoughts you call you are also being produced by biological processes you don't consciously manage. Neurons firing, chemicals balancing, signals moving through networks built over years of development. Even your sense of choice emerges from systems you didn't design. So the question becomes less about separation and more about dependency. Not in a limiting way, in a grounding way. Because dependency here is not weakness. It is structure. Everything you experience as your life depends on layers of systems you will never fully see. And those systems are not static. They are active, continuously adjusting, continuously correcting, continuously keeping you within a range where experience is possible. If even a few of those systems stopped working properly, your experience would change immediately. Not because you changed who you are, but because the conditions that allow experience to exist would change. This is why the phrase, "your body is preventing internal collapse," isn't dramatic. It is descriptive. It is pointing at the fact that stability is not your natural state. It is your maintained state. And that maintenance is happening without your permission, without your effort, and without your attention. Which leads to a strange but important realization. You are not separate from the systems keeping you alive. You are what those systems produce when they are functioning correctly. This doesn't reduce you. It reframes you. Because instead of seeing yourself as something isolated inside a body, you start seeing yourself as the outcome of continuous coordination. A process rather than a fixed object. A pattern rather than a possession. And once you see it this way, everyday experience starts to look different. Sitting still is no longer doing nothing. It is thousands of processes holding you in balance. Thinking is no longer just mental activity. It is biological energy being converted into perception and interpretation. Breathing is no longer background noise. It is a constant negotiation between oxygen intake and chemical balance. Even rest becomes something active, not absence of work, but a different kind of work happening beneath awareness. The more you look at it, the harder it becomes to find a moment where nothing is happening. Because something is always happening. Something necessary. Something coordinated. Something precise enough to keep you within life. And yet, you don't feel any of that complexity directly. You only feel the result. which is why being alive feels simple from the inside, even though it is anything but simple from the inside of your biology. So the final shift is not about learning more details. It is about recognizing what was already true. You are not carrying your life alone. You are being carried by systems that do not stop. And the most ordinary moments of your day are only possible because of that continuous, invisible effort. And that is the quiet truth most people move through life without ever fully noticing. Your body is not a background detail. It is not a passive container for your thoughts. It is not something that occasionally acts up and needs fixing. It is an active system that is constantly working to keep you within the narrow conditions where life can continue. Every second you are alive, there is regulation. Every minute, there is adjustment. Every hour, there is maintenance. And over the span of a lifetime, there is an unbroken chain of repair, defense, and coordination that has never stopped once. You didn't earn that. You don't control it. And you don't have to think about it for it to happen. That's what makes it so easy to miss. Because from your perspective, life feels like a sequence of choices, actions, and events happening on the surface. But underneath that surface, there is a continuous layer of biological work making sure the surface stays intact. When people talk about being alive, they usually describe experiences, moments, memories, goals, problems, plans. But being alive is not just the sum of those experiences. It is the condition that makes those experiences possible in the first place. And that condition is not stable on its own. It is maintained. This is why the phrase we started with matters. Your body is constantly preventing internal collapse, not as a metaphor, but as a description of ongoing reality. Because if that maintenance stopped, even briefly, everything you associate with yourself would begin to disappear. Not dramatically, not instantly in a way you could emotionally process, but systematically, function by function, system by system, until there is nothing left to experience anything at all. And yet, most of the time, there is no awareness of this effort, no sensation of maintenance, no feeling of protection, no perception of repair, just continuity, just normal life. That's the strange part. The most important processes in your existence are the ones you never feel directly. You only feel their absence when something goes wrong, which means much of what you call normal is actually the result of systems doing their job so well that they disappear from your attention entirely. And maybe that is the final shift this idea offers you. Not to become obsessed with your biology, not to overanalyze every sensation, but to recognize that stability is not a given. It is something being actively produced, right now, without pause, without recognition, without needing your awareness to keep going. And if there is anything to take from that, it is not complexity. It is respect for what is already happening underneath everything you call your life.